I just like winning. I don't care what it is, LCS, Worlds, or something. I just want to win.
I think it's your pride as a player as well that you don't want to lose against Challenger Series teams.
Last spring split, I had a really close call into getting into LCS, but Dignitas outplayed Team Fusion, and I don't want to let Kiwi Kid relegate me a second time.
Yeah, I've played relegations at least twice now, maybe thrice. You know, technicalities is kind of all thrown out the window when you're playing relegation. You just want to play your best and just prepare your team.
Well, if you lose against TDK, it means we don't deserve LCS, so what's on the line?
I think we have really good chance of beating them, and I feel pretty confident.
Welcome to the start of the 2016 North American Summer Promotion Tournament. Now, 3 spots in the LCS are on the line, and the top teams from the Challenger Series are stepping up to the plate to claim a place in the big leagues. Hello, everyone. I am Dominic Romer, and sharing the desk with me today is Aiden Zyrene Moon. How are you?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sharing the desk with you,
Yes.
so you're welcome.
We're teammates with this.
But I was doing okay, and then production told me I had to share the desk with you, so a little peeved right now, but you know what? Professional.
We'll work it out. We'll work it out.
So we're good.
Anyways, unlike last year, our combatants have been seeded into a playoff-type bracket. Facing off in our first best-of-5 is the number 10 LCS team, Dignitas. They're up against the second seed from the Challenger Series, Team Dragon Knights. The winner will move on to face Renegades for an LCS spot, while the loser will be eliminated from LCS contention and will compete in the upcoming Challenger Summer Split.
Exactly. You no longer got to pick your opponent. It was based on the seeding number 1 and 2 Challenger team and then the bottom 3 LCS teams. So this is an elimination match today. You lose this, you go home. But, of course, Renegades is waiting for the winner of this matchup, and that will be double elimination portion of the bracket, and we'll have those 3 teams by the end of Friday.
Yeah, so again, the winner of this won't quite jump to the LCS but yet. A lot is on the line, but let's jump right into it. Game number 1 between Team Dragon Knights and Team Dignitas. Dignitas is one of those grand old teams of the LCS. Been there since the beginning, but this is the 3rd time they've had to fight to really hold on to that LCS spot.
Yeah, it's been so many times that Kiwi Kid was like 2 times, 3, maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. And exactly, it's really hard to imagine the LCS without Team Dignitas, and especially their support, Kiwi Kid. In the past, he's been a huge playmaker for this team to help them re-qualify, and he's always stepped up in promotion tournament and even earned the MVP honors in the Summer 15 promotion tournament. Of course, Kiwi Kid was talking about how, MVP of promotion really isn't a big deal, but he's been there so many times. He's been such a clutch player. He's looking for those types of plays today, and the rest of Dignitas are as well, especially his AD carry, who he's supporting now in Apollo, who's actually been a consistent force and one of Dignitas' strongest players. But although Apollo is strong, he's facing off against OQ, who has been a solid player for TDK, but they did flounder when the team did not play around him. Their best games were back in the semifinals against Ember, where they played around OQ, and they just decimated.
We'll see if they can do that once again. Now, Team Dragon Knights were in the LCS, and they're fighting to return to their old stomping grounds. TDK had a mediocre Challenger split, but they managed to find success in the playoffs after they made a late-season roster swap.
Yes, TDK did lose Seraph in the top lane, but they did pick up Flares to replace him, which didn't end up being a huge hit to the squad, but they also picked up Alex Siege in exchange for Ninja. And after the change, they have looked a lot better, taking down the favorites Ember in the Challenger Series I talked about when they played around OQ. But this is also Alex's 3rd time to play in the promotion tournament, and he has won all of his series in the promo tourney. So between Kiwi Kid and Alex, one of these will be handed their first loss of a match in the promotion tournament.
Yeah, there's a lot of veteran experience among everyone, but especially on Team Dignitas. Kiwi Kid, though, says they're still vulnerable to nerves, and that might affect their chances of reclaiming their LCS spot.
But I think our team work as a whole has nerves when it comes to playing on stage, and I don't know, I'm really confident in my own play, but it's just as a cohesive unit, I'm not sure. That's when we can falter, and I mean, there's no looking past that.
And you heard Kirei at the start of the day talk about how LCS teams are they're more experienced, they've been in the LCS, they've played in front of an audience before, and if Dignitas is still feeling nerves, that edge that they think they might have as an LCS team over a Challenger team may be neutralized.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens to be the case. Now we're going to check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it's Team Dragon Knights. In the top, it's Flares with jungler Kez, mid laner Alex Ich, AD carry OQ, support Trance, and their coach, Sean Chim.
And on the red side, it's Team Dignitas. In the top lane, it's Billy Boss, Kirei in the jungle, Shifter in mid, Apollo at AD carry, and Kiwi Kid on support, MVP in 15, see if he can get it in 16 as well, with Coach Raz doing the picks and bans for this team. Of course, they've been here 3 times, won every time, and they've made it back. Kiwi Kid is basically the relegation king.
This is the end of the line, though. If they lose here, Dignitas don't get a chance to come back until Challenger Summer split, so they're going to be dropped down.
The thing is,
if they were to lose.
We've said that about Dignitas so many times now, right? We've said it 3 times about them, and we've said, okay, well, what if they lose? Well, then they're out. But they keep coming back, and that's why this squad, every time they make it to relegations, even if it's just by a hair, even if it's just that Alistar pulverize in Game 5 that nets them back into the LCS, Kiwi Kid talked about it. Practicality goes out the window. All you care about is playing your best in the moments of these games to get yourself back into the LCS and secure your spot once again.
We'll see if they're able to make it happen yet another time, as we have entered picks and bans for game number 1 between TDK and Dignitas. You can already see Kindred and Corki banned away from Shifter, Apollo, and Kirei, along with Rise banned away from Flares and Alex, and now Callista following the train for that OQ. He's really been a powerhouse on that champion.
Yes, he has, and Callista, you know, although it's one of those champions that OQ doesn't usually gravitate towards, he prefers Lucian, and when the team's going to play around him, he goes with Vayne. Hopefully he picks up Sivir, because Sivir is something that actually bit him in the Apex series, where he was not playing Sivir, and he wasn't even playing Sivir counters, and tunneled on the Lucian. He also favors Ezreal, so the Callista ban is a little bit strange, because I don't think OQ would prioritize it, but I've seen stranger things, and this Rise ban is most likely at Alex, because Rise has been coming back into the meta, top lane and in mid lane. But we'll see what ends up happening here with the Elise not banned off the table here, so Kirei would be able to play that, his favorite champion.
Yeah, that Sivir still up as well. And again, just a reminder, this is on patch 6.6 still. So Poppy still just as strong, hasn't received the nerf hammer just yet. And that's why we see that banned away against Billy Boss. And now TDK are looking for that first pickup. Now they are on blue side, so they could try to hold on to that mid lane, see if they could try to deal with Shifter a little early on, or look for just something a little bit more powerful, as Lee Sin is being hovered right now.
Doubt it. First picking a Lee Sin here, even though it's not a contested champion, would be really strange, and that I would buy. Top lane Echo is incredibly strong. People have been catching on to it. Top lane Echo is insane.
Yeah, Echo is going to be locked in. We'll see if it goes into the top, mid, or jungle. Haven't seen support or AD carry yet. But yeah, break it down a little bit. I know that the new top lane Echo doesn't usually go AP.
No, he doesn't. He actually goes Sunfire Cave, Iceborne, Gauntlet, and he's incredibly powerful. He gets to chase you down the lane. The movement speed change on his passive, where it's better early and later, is huge. And he also has had cooldown reduced on his Q and his E early, so he has a lot of lane bully potential. You build him tank, you get multiple rotations off of your passive, so you get 3 stacks, chase him down until it's back off of cooldown, and just the slow he's able to throw out. He is an insane champion in the top lane, and with Grasp, he is 100% okay. But they do give up the Nidalee for this, which is very rare, because Nidalee is an S-tier pick that people first pick almost every time they can.
Yeah, so that's going to be Nidalee and Callista locked in answer for Team Dignitas. Kirei, we saw him succeed well on that Elise, but this time taking the slightly more aggressive, more gank-oriented Nidalee, and we'll see if he can pull it off. Whereas Apollo, again, another S-tier champion on that Sivir.
Yep, Sivir for Apollo, it's something that he used to play back in the day as well. Very proficient on it, and it allows Dignitas to enable Kiwi Kid, which is what they love doing. He's the engage. If they're able to get that Alistar, which was hovered there for a moment, later in the draft, it's going to be fantastic for this Dig squad. And they took the Nidalee away from Kez, which was one of his signature champions alongside Evelynn and Elise. But that was this is the most meta of them. Elise is the one tier down, and Kez has been picking up more things that we've been seeing lately from him, like Graves. We've also been seeing things like Gragas as well, and that's why it was banned away.
Yeah, well, the answer from Team Dignitas is going to be that Graves locked in. Still can be flexed. This is a very flexible team aside from that Janna. We know that's going to be going to Trance in the bottom. And in fact, when we saw that highlight earlier by Kiwi Kid, That was Kiwi Kid landing the Alistair headbutt pulverize combo onto Trance's Janna in Game 5 against Team Fusion. And I see Alistair is still open. So we might be getting some flashbacks, trying to tilt Trance right off the bat.
Well, the thing is that Janna has so many ways to stop the Alistair combo that would really be on Trance that pulverize combo was allowed to happen. And these lock-ins are just really good for Dignitas. This is incredible.
Yeah, Azir and Maokai. I had to stop myself from saying Maokai there. Maokai locked in for the top lane.
This is just S-tier picks across the board. Maokai, top lane, incredibly good. Azir, mid lane, back in the meta. And then Nidalee jungle, definitely S-tier. And Sivir does so much damage, enables the team incredibly well. And now with Billy Boss on a safe tank, I'm not worried too much about him. The only thing is that the Echo top lane can bully the Maokai, and if Flares is going to get an advantage in that lane, which, knowing Flares, he's either going to get an advantage or he's going to die over and over again trying. That's the lane I'm looking at here just because of the matchup.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on the sustain of Grasp of the Undying Echo and Maokai with that built-in kit. Ooh,
yeah.
Oz being hovered as the answer
Alex
to
can do
Azir.
it. Alex can do it.
And he locks it in.
All right, so right now, I was talking about lane matchups. Echo into Maokai, counter matchup. Vel'Koz into Azir, counter matchup. Caitlyn into Sivir, counter matchup. The range disparity is huge. TDK across the board. Dignitas were locking in these picks that are S-tier picks, but TDK have been countering them across the board with theirs.
We'll see if these lane matchups are going to be enough to propel Team Dragon Knights into victory in this game number 1, as Bard is the final pickup for Dignitas. A very strong team composition, but Zyrene, you just said it. It's counter matchup city for TDK.
Yeah, but what ends up happening here is this Bard last pick. This will enable Kiwi Kid to roam, which we have always known Kiwi Kid to be a roaming support. Back when he would play Annie support, he would leave the lane, he would back, and he would show up middle for no reason. He would even start mind gaming his opponents with pink wards and start leaving the lane and just sit on them. So Kiwi Kid with a roaming support, we'll see what he's able to do in the promotion tournament. Game 1 for his team here in this elimination match. But like you said, TDK, they do have advantageous lanes here. I expect the 2-on-2 to come out.
Yeah, it's placing a lot of stock during that laning phase and hoping that it pays off well, whereas Dignitas, on the other hand, looking to get everybody grouped up towards that mid to late game where they can get Azir and Sivir to start stacking some massive AoE.
Yeah.
It looks to be a very thrilling first game as we've got everybody getting ready. The coaches shaking hands as we get this series underway. We want to know who you think is going to take game number 1 and, more importantly, the series. Send either hashtag TDKWin or hashtag DIGWin to @LOL Esports, and we'll tally those votes as we get on into it. But things are looking good for both of them.
Yeah, Dignitas, of course, have very incredibly strong picks. Everybody seems rather comfortable on them. Keyray aggressive, Billy Boss tank, Apollo wave clear, Kiwi Kid roam, and Shifter has a wave clear scaling mid laner. So Dignitas are in a great position, but TDK do have lane advantages here for multiple champions. We'll see what ends up happening. It's going to be on Keyray and Kiwi Kid to upset these lanes. And also, what's the setup going to be in the level 1? Is it going to be a blind 5-man invade? Is it going to be spread out? Because if they go for the blind 5-man invade, you have a better chance at calling the lane swap in a by not guessing, by not being blind. But it is going to be the fan out here from both teams. I'm a little surprised that Dig didn't go for an invade, but I do understand it.
Yeah, want to make sure they've still got vision. Spear gets tossed out right off from Keyray. Shows that he's not starting off with any traps. While, as you mentioned, everybody else takes those defensive lines. So 45 seconds in, this is again game number 1 between Team Dragon Knights, the number 2 seed from Challenger, versus Team Dignitas, the number 10 seed from the LCS Spring 2016.
Yeah, and you're talking about Dignitas 10th seed. Right before the end of the season, they were 8th seed. They were going to be able to play the have a better chance immediately into the double elimination portion of the bracket, but they slid down to 10th. Renegade passed them. Tip ended up staying in that 9th place spot. So Dignitas, it's been rather heartbreaking for them and their fans. They are on a 6-game losing streak in the LCS, and they risk not being in it with this promotion tournament match. But Kiwi Kid, will he continue to be the king of relegation, or will Alex still be the professional booster?
We'll find out.
One of them gets a mark on their record after this game.
No perfect records anymore. Looks like we are going to see the lane swap from Apollo. Double blue start from TDK. there's no ward, and actually he's just going to take the small sentinels away to deny some of the experience.
Okay. So it's a triple jungle here from Dignitas, having Kiwi Kid roam around with the double jungle. And Apollo's just in the top lane. I don't think he's actually shown himself just yet. And there he goes. He pops out, starts clearing the wave. And so that's going to be OQ in the bottom lane, shoving it up. And Apollo trying to get his freeze. So he's not looking to shove it at all. Whereas OQ, he's looking to shove it. So OQ's going to shove it up. Apollo's waiting a little bit here. This is how you slow push the wave. You don't immediately fast push it. So you allow it to build up a tiny bit. And then you're just going to be able to 4-man take the top turret. And this is essentially a lane swap, even though Kiwi Kid was on the opposite side of the map. It's not too important for supports.
Yeah, a bit of a late execution, but it seems like it's working out rather well. The minion wave crashes for TDK. They've got another one incoming, but the pressure's on right now as the next cannon minion wave is going to find Trance, OQ, and Flares. They're getting some good clear out right now, but it might be a little bit more difficult to take this tier 1 right away.
Yeah, this is actually going to be really risky. I think this wave is going to be gone right in time. Ooh. Oh, man. That was really close. So, yeah, TDK, appropriate bounce there, but Dignitas did it better.
Yeah, very, very large minion wave built up for Dignitas. It arrives a bit later, but they've got the luxury of a very large minion wave and a good minion proxy.
So I guess the word I wanted to use wasn't really bounce, it was more of setup for the turret. Dignitas were able to slow push it and be patient. TDK wanted to get there incredibly fast, and they're basically running on empty with minions here.
Ooh, some damage finds Flares as he's forced to bounce back. Chunk down to below half health. That means that this could be trouble when this turret goes down, as it looks like Billy Boss doing the same on the other side as the AD carries already recall. Apollo's on his way down with Kiwi Kid. And yeah. I'm pretty sure that's going to bounce, isn't it? Three minions?
I think Billy's going to shove it. So what's ended up happening at the evolution of these lane swaps is, as a top laner, you no longer bounce it and walk away. You don't care if it bounces or not anymore. Because if they're going to send their AD carry and support to top lane, you shove that wave. You clear that wave out, you try to push it as far as you can onto the other side so that the AD carry has to answer that wave closer to their tier 2, and then it's just a longer distance to your tier 1. So you can see right there, both top laners tried to shove out that wave. Billy Boss actually ended up getting a little bit more out of it.
Yeah, Kiwi Kid finds Flares rather early on and is able to zone him away from the minion wave, just denying some experience. Kirei goes super deep. Red buff is going to slow him. He flashes. Will he be able to make it over the wall? Stun doesn't quite find him. And he just takes the penguin slide to safety.
So that's a flash from Flares, also a flash from Kirei. So Flash is answered 1 for 1. But meanwhile, the lane shove from Apollo has just been solo here, and Kiwi Kid, of course, harassing, roaming around, just causing as much havoc as possible on the support, doing what he does best.
Yeah, that's a very successful steal. They will trade some flashes, but in the end, it's all said and done. Now, bottom tier 1 and top tier 1 look to be pressured from both of the teams as the lane swap continues. Knock out those turrets nice and quick. Try to snowball out of this laning phase as quickly as possible. And with double cull from both of the AD carries, don't expect to see any action anytime soon.
Yep, rather typical now to get a cull on your first back in a lane swap. You'll be able to complete that item and have it go off around, I'd say about the 13, 14 minute mark if you CS appropriately from then on.
Yeah, so they're just going to pressure these turrets as quickly as possible. Both teams, again, going to be successful in breaking down those tier 1 turrets. Now, what this effectively has done, though, is put mid lane on a bit of an island.
Yes, yeah, and when you look at that, Alex has actually had to blow through all of his potions, whereas Shifter is perfectly fine here. And this is a counter matchup in favor of the Vel'Koz, but there is a caveat here. You have to be a little bit on the aggressive side. You have to be able to poke him out a tiny bit. Your range is superior as Vel'Koz, and then in the mid game, you're able to just throw out the ultimate. You're able to just throw it across the team, and Azir has to kind of dive for you, which is what an Azir does not want to do. So Alex is in a spot that most Vel'Kozes will find themselves in when you try to play this matchup, but you have to be a very, very good Vel'Koz. Kirei?
Ooh. Oh, Spear just stops the recall.
Yeah,
wastes about 7 seconds.
Not in the shop. So Alex, watching his screen. You definitely want to watch your screen when you're backing. I know you want to buy very quickly, but you'll save yourself.
Meanwhile, minions continue to be cleared. You just saw Rift Herald picked up by Kez, who opts for an early recall.
In this bottom lane CS, you can see OQ with an advantage over Apollo by a decent amount at this point, 16 CS up. He's going to be shoving him in here. Kirei is playing to this bot side, but so is Kez. So both junglers very aware of where their attention should be because OQ has an advantage in this lane. Being the Caitlyn over the Sivir and being able to just purchase Swifty Boots straight out, that is insane. You back for Swifty Boots and you're like, this is my damage item as Caitlyn. Because okay, so not to be a dank memer or anything, but when Doublelift talked about auto spacing, he was talking about the distance in terms of auto attack range distance and then movement speed in comparison. So the difference between the Caitlyn auto attack and the Sivir auto attack is 150 range, and if you're able to attack and turn around and run faster than the person, you can keep your autos out of their range. There's no retaliation at that point. Thus, auto spacing was born.
And that's exactly what we're seeing in this game. Yeah, Apollo was just getting harassed out by OQ, and he's already missed out on a few of these minions. As you mentioned, it's about now 20 CS difference between the two, and more importantly, that Cull is just getting further and further apart as OQ gets to snowball further and further.
And this is one of those things that as the enemy AD carry, you go, who does that? Who does that? Who comes back to the lane with Swifty Boots when you maybe could have been able to come back with a pickaxe, with a BF sword? That's one of those points where you're just kind of angry at the person. You can't really get practice against that because it's very unusual. But it's a very unique style from OQ here. But it will hurt him in the mid game if he doesn't get enough of an advantage over Apollo. If Apollo's able to get this wave, he doesn't get harassed off of it, then it's a not ideal investment. Apollo's able to bounce back, have his BF sword item completed before OQ. But if OQ is able to get him off this wave, then oh man, it can push Apollo out of the game.
And there is a very tangible trade-off. Billy Boss has been free to freeze in the top lane, leaving flares to roam around the map. He's down a level now, and nearly 20 CS
down
behind. Yeah, so this is starting to look pretty bad for those top laners. That top lane Echo you were lauding might be a bit tricky, but Apollo, he's finally going to be able to get to catch some CS, takes a deep breath and says, oh, yes.
Yep, but is it enough, though? Look at that, 60 to 92.
Yeah, still down 2 levels.
Yeah, in that top lane, though, Billy Boss, like you said, below flares. That wave, if it actually bounces all the way back to the other side, flares will eventually get a large amount of CS. It won't be completely equalized, but flares yeah, kind of got the short end of the stick there. The wave was pushed up, Maokai was able to freeze it, and in order to break the freeze, you need to call your jungler up.
Well, that is what we expected. OQ and Alex to be the primary carries for this team.
Yeah, when you first picked that Echo, though, you're expecting him to have a good lane matchup. You're expecting him to kind of invest a little bit more in him. He went with the Sheen first, so it's definitely an aggressive build for the Iceborne Gauntlet, but he's against a mostly AP team, so I would expect him to actually start building towards the Spirit Visage rather quickly afterward.
So far, Team Dignitas look like they've got pretty comfortable control of the early game. They took the first Dragon, they took the first Rift Herald, and they're trying to shut down Apollo. Seems like things are going their way so far. And again, this is what they picked for. A lot of stock in this early game. Try to unlock OQ and Alex to farm up and get towards those late game hyper carries. Is Caitlyn still technically a hyper carry, or do we not consider her that anymore?
Caitlyn's a little interesting now because she's definitely a lane bully still. She still has that play pattern, and she's kind of a zone control carry. I don't know if I'd call her a hyper carry anymore. She's rather bursty, especially since we made attack speed not scale as easily for her. It's 0.9, kind of like Kalista gets 0.9 value of AD, as opposed to the full 1.0. So she scales less with that, but she's definitely still a champion that can chunk you out. Her traps and her zoning allows her to have more damage. Flares holding this wave, Kez trying to look top, but now it's Flares' turn to freeze a gigantic wave. And Billy, he will have an opportunity to make some plays on the opposite side of the map. Oh, he put the trap in front of him!
Keurig gets caught on the trap, chunked down to half. There's the ace in the hole, the laser on top. He goes down, first blood, Alex in.
What a god! OQ, he knows he's in the bush. He throws the trap in his path, and Kirei didn't flash over the trap. He ended up eating it, eating a full value Q, headshot that's enhanced, and then the ace in the hole with Alex on the backup there. And they're going to get mid-turret off of this. TDK just blew this game wide open early on.
Yeah, there's just not enough wave clear to keep that up. Looks like Billy Boss is trying to take on Flares, though. He's doing some really great damage.
Yeah.
Flares,
whoa,
Flares.
Flares.
He's getting some good AP damage in. He tries to catch back up. Flares goes low.
He got the
shield! The flash shield from Trance.
What? Heck! Flares, he's 2 levels down, he starts dueling him, he gets a level up, he ends up using his ultimate really early on in that fight to just jump back in, and Billy would have had that if it wasn't for the Janna showing up there, for Trance getting the assist with the shield.
And this is exactly what you talked about. Flares is going to win this lane by killing you or die trying.
Yeah, Flares, you know, he's not in the top 4 for LCS, but this guy likes to gamble all the time. He should be in Vegas because he just goes insane. He's going to win you the game, or he's going to be one of the people who loses the game for you.
There goes the flash, dodges the stun, and Flares gets out. Kirei just has to watch as that echo disappears.
This, Flares, he walks up. It's like, okay, I'm level 6. He doesn't even walk into his shield. He just man modes it, goes forward, tries to retreat. He knows that he wants to set his retreat with the chrono shift. Boom. Gets the shield. Oh, man. So Flares was still level 6 when that ended. He got level 7 after he cleared the minion wave. So it was 2 levels down. 2 levels down. And he
would have lost.
And he still goes for that, though. But that's crazy. So you have to be communicating with your team like, I'm going to fight him for 20 seconds. Come here in the second 18, 19, and save me. And Trance even had to blow Flash to get into range to even do that.
I feel like that's the sort of thing where if I were to pull it off, my team would be like, no, 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 and just let me die.
No, in solo queue, that's where somebody, if they're really paying attention, is like, I gotta go save this guy, he's a madman. Or they're just like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
He's 2 level, what? You start spam pinging him back.
The question mark ping.
Yeah, when he dies, you just question mark ping him 5 times.
All right, so off of that recall, that's going to put a Rod of Ages for Billy Boss. He didn't get the kill, but he's still up in more than twice the CS, well, up to twice the CS of Flares now, who's now catching that minion wave, though Flares, again, going for that tanky route. Got the Spectre's Cowl, got his Sheen, while everyone else looks for some Swifties and damage as OQ and Alex look to start. Oh, coming online.
TP from... What? Billy TP'd onto a ward that was in between Alex and Kez, and then he just stops it. So Billy doesn't have TP, Flares does. Flares will try to push this minion wave out, and if they want to create a play on the opposite side of the map, they are 100% free to do so on TDK's side. And TDK, almost 2,000 gold up at this point, 1.5k over Dignitas. And TDK were saying that they think they have a good chance to win this, and this bot lane is definitely helping out in that. Both Trance and OQ are definitely doing work. And OQ was brought on to give, or sorry, Trance was brought on to give OQ a support that has a lot of experience in the role. They originally had Bishu, who was making the transition from mid to support, and Trance was brought on to unlock this guy. And it seems to be working. He's unlocked a decent amount of his team, too.
Yeah, a huge CS lead for OQ. Already shoving up to the turret. Sivir has great wave clear, but not when she can't get to the minions. The trap's even zoning it off.
So OQ, Q. So he ended up putting 4 points into his Q, and then he started going for traps. He'll probably end up having his Q max next level. So instead of the level 9, 5 rank Q, he ended up going for, I need more traps. I just need to siege. I need to get this tier 2 turret. So he's immediately looking at what the next objective is in the next few minutes when he levels up, and saying that I need to have more traps. I need to be able to wall off this area in siege, because what is the Sivir going to do to break your siege this early on? She'll throw out her boomerang blade and her ricochet, but if you just push her off of the turret, and she does that twice, then you've already done like 500 damage to her. She doesn't have lifesteal at this point.
Once again, TDK have control of this mid-game. Shifter gets
Alex.
a great stun. There goes the damage. He dashes forward and is barely able to make it out with just over 100 health. Ooh. Dragon 2 picked up, and they burned both of Shifter's summoners.
I'm going to have to see where Flares end up going. Ooh. Found somebody. It wasn't the person he was looking for, but Shifter backed way off, used both summoner spells to do that in exchange for no summoner spells from TDK. So very aggressive play there, and this Azir is left wide open in a mid lane that has a less than half HP turret right now. So TDK will eventually get this turret if they call up their Caitlyn.
And this is the final thing that Dignitas have got going for them. They've got a CS advantage on Billy Boss, who we saw get shut down by Flares, but Shifter is now even in CS with Alex Hitch. He's been ahead for the past 5 minutes or so, maybe by about 2 or 3 minion waves, but that final push was enough to balance it right back out and bring it back to even in items.
Yeah, but when I look at the gold that Alex has, Alex is 800 gold up. He has a kill, he's even in CS, but you have to start thinking about, okay, They're even in turret. What is giving him this gold? Well, it's probably he's CSing some jungle creeps. He's taking some high value for them. And look at this. Flares jumping into 3.
He's got some regret right there. Doesn't have the chrono shift, but he flashes and gets out so fast with that passive. That Z-Drive resonance.
There was a spear following him. You got to clench at those moments. It's like, it's going to hit me. Oh, just barely. So Flares, once again, that's the thing with this TDK squad, and that's the thing about the Flares as a player. He's very aggressive, and he's going to take every opportunity he sees, but sometimes those opportunities are lying to him. They look good, but immediately they turn so sour and so bad that Flares will sometimes, and I think we'll probably see it throughout this series, he'll sometimes end up costing his team a fight.
The siege begins for TDK with the Dragon number 2. They are shredding through that turret's health with just a single auto attack. All it would take is a single minion, and Kez is going to be the one who gets the finishing blow. So that's the 3rd turret dropped for Team Dignitas by Dragon Knights, and now they're looking to go for Rift Herald, catching it as it respawns. Though Dignitas are grouped, they finally got all 5 members.
Yeah, you can't do the Rift Herald just yet when you have all 5 members of Dignitas in the mid lane. The siege potential from this team is still rather good too, so they're able to use Shifter and Apollo clear waves and actually get some damage down. Blue buff being contested here. Not enough members of TDK on the side, so it's going to come down to Kez, and no.
Kure decides to use his smite to secure it. Now there goes the Herald. OQ's already given it up. He's on the far side of the map trying to catch some minions and look for the tier 2, though Billy Boss finally has his TP back up. Rift Herald secured for Dignitas. We'll have to see if they can make anything happen with it. You know, Kure, he's been roaming all over the map this game. So far, his roams have been unsuccessful. He's only been caught twice.
Yeah, that's true. He hasn't really been too successful in this Nidalee. He's been able to throw out some spears and get a flash, I think, at one point. But when he ended up getting caught by OQ, it was just a straight-up outplay there. And speaking of OQ, he went for Alacrity Boots very early on. OQ is sitting at 420 move speed, 423. So with the rapid-fire cannon early on, Swiftness and Alacrity. And OQ loves to split push. That's the thing about this guy, is he plays like a top laner. In his second life, his previous life, he was a top laner. And he would split push, and he basically played like Flares does. And he had OQ moments where he gets caught out and dies. But right now, he's just beasting it. He wants this attack speed, and he understands it's a stat that we don't consider a combat stat. But he considers it a combat stat because it's all about your movement speed relative to the other person's. And Apollo's still sitting on brown bags until now. He's got the Berserker's Greaves upgrade, but he's still rather low.
Kure forced to flash away from Alex Ich on the flank. OQ drops off a few traps to wall it off. Now they see Billy Boss there. They don't want to put too much pressure as Kez catches Shifter. He doesn't have flash just yet. Flares is doing some good damage.
Yep. Look at that. It's a tank top Echo, and he's completed Iceborne Gauntlet, and that's all he really needs. His base damages are so high, and the speed that he gets from the passive for the chase down along the grasp, it's really just a great build for the Echo right now.
TDK look like they've come online in this mid game. They are pressuring turrets, pressuring tier 2s, and Dignitas are forced to be completely reactionary.
Yeah, I think TDK have had an advantage for most of this game. The only thing is that it's blowing this advantage up. It's how do you actually close the game out from here? How do you keep expanding on your lead? Because if you sit on your hands against an Azir and a Sivir, they're eventually going to get to the point where they're just going to decimate your entire team. So you have to be able to push a lead with this Caitlyn early on, and I'm going to go check on OQ one more time here. So he put 4 points into his trap, 4 points into his Q. He doesn't have any ability max just yet at that level 11. See what happens when he gets level 12. I'm actually very curious to see which he upgrades first, because if it's the Q, or if it's the W, it means he just wants to group and get 5 traps down in the lane and help his team siege down. But we haven't been seeing those scenarios just yet. He's been playing around with his movement speed, trying to bully Apollo. It's a 40 CS lead now for him during the laning phase. And
that's opening up to be a pretty big lead. I mean, even in the top lane, Billy Boss, he's still only about 20 CS ahead now, and Alex has fallen just a bit behind Shifter, but we're seeing these leads just become bigger and bigger for TDK. Now, Dragon is going to be up in 15 seconds. This would be number 3 for TDK at 22 minutes if they can make it there in time. And in fact, Flares looks like he's collapsing down as he shoves away from the mid lane.
That's even more movement speed if they're able to get Dragon 3 here for TDK. So OQ would be very happy with that, especially with the captain boots from Trance early on too. So a lot of movement speed for this guy, but look at that, TDK immediately to the mid lane, and the Graves damage on turrets is just so high when you end up getting close to them. Flair's gonna avoid, but not avoid enough.
Flares is caught, forced to Chrono Shift back before flashing out. He still gets out with his life. Dig don't get a kill, but they blow quite a lot of ultimates.
Yeah, but that's a lot of damage on that mid tier 2. Billy and Flares were the ones who took damage, and they both have TP. So even if they back right now, they'll be able to show up for a dragon fight if it happens. But this dragon will go down fairly quickly for TDK with these double AD carries and Janna.
Yeah, it's already being started out by TDK, shredding through its health so quickly. Dragon number 3 secured. Billy Boss teleports in right after the 22-minute mark. Meanwhile, Dignitas are split. Shifters in the front. Curate gets 1 kill. Kez zoning from the far side. Apollo forced to flash away. Billy Boss is deep into the enemy lines. He flashes over the wall, but the headshot is going to follow by OQ. And Dignitas, without a tank, have got to run away. Low mana on Shifter. Can he keep himself up? OQ is single-handedly chasing them down, fully living up to that Officer Caitlyn fantasy. And now here comes Flares and Kez chasing down Shifter. He forced the flash away. Still no mana. Kez is low, finally going to go down. Flares makes another turret, but OQ's still not done.
Yeah, OQ's just going to keep running around, dodging these skill shots, see what he can do, and he's actually just going to back off now and cede the fight to Dig.
Yeah, finally they get away. It is going to be 1 for, I believe, 2 in favor of Dignitas. But that's Dragon 3 going over to TDK.
Yeah, so look at the TP difference. Billy TP's there, and then on the opposite side, Flair's TP is really far away, and then Alex gets spread out from the fight. Everybody peels off onto Billy Boss as Flair's goes up to the side, and they try to get Apollo, but Apollo's able to ditch out. OQ gets the headshot over the wall, and then just the movement speed kiting from the other side. Shifter doesn't have enough mana right now to really combo anybody. He's waiting on some soldiers too, so ends up traveling through. The stun ends up hitting Flair, so Flares can't follow and get the slow off. So no Iceborne Gauntlet there, which would have been really big coming into this follow-up here. And they don't have the wards to continue. That's the thing, is when you're Caitlyn and you're trying to get towards these guys, you need to keep that distance so you can't face check a bush at all. And he didn't have the wards to put down. He didn't have the blue trinket available or the backup from Trance.
It is going to be gold lead in favor of TDK when it's all said and done. About 2,000 in their favor.
It's not growing though.
You're right. Dignitas, they were able to take that fight back. Now, after the 20 minutes, that means Baron has spawned, and TDK want to make sure they've got vision just in case any shenanigans might happen, as Billy Boss is on the far side trying to answer OQ and Trance, looking for that fast tier 2.
And nobody's here really to answer OQ and Trance except for Billy, and Billy only has Glacial Shroud as an armor item right now, up against a 2.5 item Caitlyn. Caitlyn's gonna get this turret. OQ, now he's gonna start running towards this side. The blue buff is up, so I assume they will take that away from Shifter, make sure the Azir doesn't have that for the siege.
And Dignitas aren't able to take any answer back. The tier 2 goes down with little contest, and Dignitas, they're grouped up and defensive. Almost seems like they're waiting for TDK to make a mistake, and TDK are hesitant to allow that to happen.
It did put all their wards around Baron. So Dignitas were trying to force TDK into, okay, you have to come to this area, but I don't think TDK really even have a Baron in their sights. This isn't a Baron killing team. You can kill it, of course, with your double AD carries, and you can disengage with Trance, but I think the Dignitas are the ones who really want to be in the Baron pit, deny vision, try to threaten doing it with an Azir who does it extremely quickly, and then maybe get a catch with Kiwi Kid and then Apollo ulti for the follow-up. But I think Dignitas are the ones who really have to force the issue and try to make a play that TDK has to answer and put themselves in a bad position.
And that's what we just saw from Kiwi Kid, tossing out the Tempered Fate to try catching Alex nearly a minute and a half ago. Wasn't quite successful, so we'll see if he continues to use the Tempered Fate in that manner to look for those picks as Billy Boss continues to split on the far side of the map.
Oh, I really like this from OQ. So he went for the Runaan's Hurricane, third item, so a second attack speed item for him. Even more movement speed on top of it. I'll double check him again. He's running around with about 460, sometimes 500, depending on where he's moving. So he's running around with 460 movement speed. When he's not moving towards Janna.
There they go. Now they've caught Alex. Stun isn't going to find it, but they do get the mid-tier 1 in answer.
Yeah. So, end up getting that last outer turret. So outer turret's equalized, but still one more in favor of TDK.
And we saw how effective that movement speed on OQ was in that last fight. nobody could catch him. The only person who could was Billy Boss with a targeted snare, but nobody else from Dignitas could quite get in range of OQ, and now he looks to break down the mid-tier 2.
I really like this, though. The Runaan's Hurricane, that is going to allow him to stack up headshots much faster, but he is going to need some type of lifesteal item, whether it's a Bloodthirster, maybe he goes Maw against this triple magic damage comp. It is possible. We'll see what he does.
Dignitas knows they've chunked out OQ, so they try to pressure forward aggressively. Flares trading off with Billy Boss now. That tank Echo doing some good damage. Banshees and Iceborne is going to be the first on the ticket. We'll see if he finishes off the Sunfire next as OQ tries to heal up with his Soul Doran's Blade.
That's the thing about the Echo build is you really want Sunfire, Iceborne, Gauntlet, but playing it into 3-4 magic damage dealers, the only one that's really going to be doing physical here is Apollo, is not optimal. You don't need 2 armor items against this composition. You can get 1 and then maybe Thornmail if Apollo goes off, right? That's what I would say is reasonable. But if you really want to shut down Apollo and you think that everybody's just going to jump at everybody else, you can stack armor and just try to run him down and try to 1v1 him every fight and just be a really annoying tank in the AD carry's face. So there are options, and Apollo's most likely not going to go for any type of last whisper item in this game. He would definitely be out of his way in this build. We'll see here, Flares looking for more. And just dancing around each other right now. I mean, promotion, there is a lot of stress on these players. Want to play your best. Ooh, nice flash.
Flash burn from Trance. Looks like Flares still wants to pull the fight, though. There goes the ultimate from Sivir on the hunt. Flares is low, but he's still got the Chrono Shift. Shifter trying to dodge around it with Kirei. And Dignitas are able to bully TDK back before they can get out too much damage.
Well, TDK are more concerned with the 4th dragon right now. So Dignitas, they're going to move up the mid lane. They're going to try to get this tier 2. They're going to put up the Azir turret, and they're just going to try to buy time and make it so that this first dragon will go over to them. But Flares, he's looking for a flank here. Are they going to run through an Azir turret? That's crazy.
Yeah, he's going very deep for that pressure. Now finding the tier 2. They don't want to walk through Flares.
Oh!
He needs a stun. They whammo combo it up, but it's not enough to get the kill. There's the Chrono Shift. Flares is still alive on the backside, and Dignitas walk away with the skin of their teeth.
That is super aggressive there. They walk through an Azir turret, Flares TPs to the backside and dives through everybody, and nobody ends up dying there. TDK now have inside track onto Dragon, and this will be their 4th one of the game, and they're looking at a possible 36-minute Dragon 5 threat against Dignitas.
Complete and total Dragon control for TDK. The mobility working out with this unexpected composition, transitioning very effectively into the mid-game. Oh, somebody's going to finish it off. There goes OQ.
Wow, 4 Dragons, 5 at around 36 minutes. An aptly named team. Oh, if he catches it!
Oh, gosh. The auto attack was even fired from Kez. The animation completed.
Yep.
So does Recall still have that mini half second at the end?
It's like 0.1 seconds at the very end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the window was lowered.
Ooh, Apollo looking for Flares. He's got some help from Kiwi and Billy. There goes the Tempered Fate. Oh, they're going to lock him against the wall right now. Flares is indeed caught, but he's very tanky. No Chrono Shift. Oh, he just gets it off of cooldown and immediately hops back out, but there's Shifter. He's actually getting slows. Wow, stunned quite a bit. It takes 5 members of Dignitas to drop him.
Yeah, and Flares, he just has so much in that Echo build with the tank. And oh boy.
Yeah, Kiwi didn't want to be there.
Apparently not. So Kiwi's gonna get picked off on the side by Kez there, assuming a collateral damage ended up finishing him off on the side. But oh man, so 1-for-1 that stops Dignitas from having the possible Baron threat. And right now, Shifter, he's scaling up. He's at 3 items. He has the Void Staff. But this has been all about turrets. There's only 1 more outer turret left for TDK to take with OQ, who now has a QSS, which will eventually turn into a lifesteal item for him. So if he gets rooted by Maokai, he may not even be that effective.
Oh, so Kiwi
walked forward. Whoa! Oof. Okay. That was aggressive.
Yep. I think he thought he was Alistair, having some flashbacks.
Walked forward for that, tried to just get some harassment, but it's a great. Kez ended up getting both parts of the Q, and Kiwi Kid ended up dying for it, so.
Yeah, 31 minutes into the game. TDK still barely ahead of Dignitas in terms of gold. 3.5 as far as the difference between the two. But Dignitas starting to get aggressive. They're hitting some of those break points. Frozen Heart finished for Billy Boss. Starting to see some big AP ticket items for Kire and Shifter, and Apollo already got his core 2. Looking for that third BF sword item, second BF sword item, excuse me, to try scaling up into TDK. Flares, he does have a chain vest, so he's getting a little bit more tanky, but again, he did go for the second Spectre Scowl first.
Yeah, I want to see what that second BF sword item is for Apollo, because we usually see IE, but he has a long sword, so it could be Bloodthirster. It
So I guess
could be a little out of his way with that long sword, and he just purchased it because. You were saying?
Yeah, taking it back a little bit in Champion Select, we talked about how Apollo's Sivir would open up Kiwi Kid to engage. Well, it seems like Kiwi Kid is having a plenty fine time doing that on his own with that Tempered Fate. Didn't really need it. The Sivir's more of just a power pick for them.
Yeah. It's something that Apollo's very comfortable on. He's always been a backline AD carry player, so Sivir has become more and more of that. She can hit tanks, and then the Ricochet will actually access the enemy backline. So if he just plays back and safe, then he's good. But OQ has been making his life a living hell. He's just been attacking him with abusing the Caitlyn advantage.
Some very aggressive play out of OQ, trying to deny that combo synergy. OQ is able to keep up in move speed with Nidalee running through brush.
It's actually pretty insane. Looks like it is going to be a Baron, though, for Dignitas. Is this where they say, well, we go for broke, Dignitas Baron's a thing, but not a promotion tournament. Practicality goes out the window.
They're doing a lot of damage. There goes a great Tempered Fate. They get the Baron. Can they get out, though? Teleport is completed by Flares. Kez leads the charge with the rest of his team. Kez gets stunned, so too does Flares. OQ can't find an entry point, and TDK can't catch up. Dignitas take Baron and get out.
They take it very smoothly, too. Only 2,000 gold advantage now between TDK and Dignitas. Evened up a little bit, and no vision control. There was nothing there for TDK.
Yeah, no answer. Very solid vision control for Dignitas is going to secure that for them. Now they've got the game in their favor. The risky play finally pays off.
Yep, they had the adequate pink ward vision down. The blue trinkets were used a little late there, but they had them on cooldown. So Dignitas, really good call there to sneak that Baron, and then they got out scot-free. They didn't even have to use ultimates to disengage.
Yeah, now Dragon 5's up in 90 seconds, and already Dignitas are setting up vision. They don't want to take any chances with that Dragon 5. They've still got a bit of a window to shove a tier 2, or perhaps even an inhibitor if they're feeling lucky. And we start to see them cheat forward into TDK's jungle. This is the sort of play that Dignitas have been looking for all game, and finally they've got the Baron buff to empower them to do it.
All right, so looking at this Baron buff coming out for Dignitas, they get to siege, they get to use the Azir turret, throw that up, they're just trying to catch it. OQ gets caught, but they're not going to do anything.
Yeah, the 90 caliber net is used to get him away, but here come the minions. Azir turret has already fallen. Again, they're keeping that Baron to their back. They don't want to take any chances with the Dragon 5, and in fact, it seems like they would rather take their first Dragon of the game than look for a tier 2.
Well, they're trying to get both. They're trying to at least siege it a little bit, but Dragon 1 is the big thing because it's Dragon 5 for TDK. Looking at the items coming out here before we see what is most likely a fight, Leandri's Torment completed for Alex. He also has Morello, 4 items here. And then Flare's a little low in the HP department, but he has a lot of resistance and effective HP. Double magic resist item and a null magic mantle towards that Zizzarat portal. And then OQ completed his lifesteal item with QSS, and Kez, oh man.
Yeah, Billy Boss not able to catch up to Kez. He gets out, Flares trying to get in. OQ's now grouped up.
Now.
Dragon has just spawned. TDK are emboldened by it. Billy Boss on top of a ward finds Flares. Not the right target for now, but he's just being taken up. Kire goes a little bit too deep here. Going to eat a fat knockup. He goes down. There goes a huge Tempered Fate. Can they burn through the Dragon in time or retreat? It's 5v4 right now. Flares in the front. Doesn't have his chrono shift. He gets knocked down and locked down. Dropped down. OQ fires a shot off. It's 4v4. There's Ace in the hole again. Shifter. He flashes and cancels it. That's not the right thing to do. Apollo trying to cancel it around. Kez wins the fight. Kiwi Kid goes down. Billy Boss looking to join back up into this fight. He finds Kez but can't lock him down. Alex Shifter to help him. Shifter getting one. Ace in the hole fired out again. He goes down. Ace for TDK.
OQ is a monster. The frontline AD carry. He only has one champion that supports him. And Janet, he's going to go down, but it's for the good of the team. 5 dragons to TDK off that fight.
With that, they're going to now shove forward, looking for that top tier 2, perhaps even mid-inhib, as there's no answer from Dignitas for the next 9 seconds. And let's take a breakdown of that fight.
Billy Boss opens up onto flares. OQ's right there, but he does have Mercurial Scimitar, and Kirei jumps in. No backup because of the disengage from Trance used during the Zonias. They pop him off, and flares, he walks too far forward. Now he got the Chrono Shift earlier. Billy doesn't go down. He's able to back with the Baron-powered recall. Flashes to cancel it because he knows it won't kill Shifter, which actually ends up being incredibly good because it takes him out of the animation, it takes the rest of the team off guard, and then he finishes off the 2 people on the right. Kez gets a double, gets shut out, and then the pickup there, and this is the AD carry that people were looking for. When OQ was brought on to TDK, everybody was looking for this type of play from this player.
Finally able to pull it off in the promotion tournament, fully enabled by TDK. And that's what we were talking about in the pregame. Can TDK enable OQ to go big? And in this game, that definitely seems like it's the case. 3-0-4 right now. He's ahead 60 CS.
Yeah. When you play around OQ, you see results. When he played Vayne and the rest of the team, literally 4 tanks, they won the game so easily. He is an actual star AD carry player. If you play around OQ and enable him and give him the tools to succeed, he has the mechanics to do so in the decision making. He does have those things that people call OQ moments, where he's 1v1ing and he ends up dying, but when he's in a team environment, this guy was the KDA leader of the LCK in one of his first splits. He's definitely talented.
Coming up very huge in this game. Dragon 5 has now worn off. Oh no! Alex still has it for another 2 minutes, looks like. It's OQ and Alex who've got the Dragon 5. Kez and the rest of his team still sitting on 4.
Those trap lines and those taunts. OQ. Just walk up and tank the turret.
Yeah, Flares is split pushing on the far side.
Does have TP as well.
Zero turret goes down, looking for an inhib and that top tier 2. No answer from Billy Boss just yet. Doesn't have his teleport for another 2 minutes.
OQ took a big chunk there. He's going to need some minions to actually lifesteal back up on. So hopefully the rest of his team gets that memo and doesn't actually kill them. So there we go. Very quick, actually, to get back up. 2,000 crits there.
Spear finds Alex. Unfortunately, not any lifesteal on Vel'Koz, but already the trap line has been laid. And despite the excellent wave clear of Azir and Sivir, they just can't quite get in. There goes the teleport from Flares. Looks like he wants to pull the trigger. Kiwi's caught. The inhibitor goes down. Kirei trying to kite it out on the side, but their focus is this inhib.
Yeah, Billy Boss wants to engage, though.
Tempered Faith finds Alex. He's locked down. Can they manage to kill him in time? Not quite, as Kirei's stuck on the trap line, and TDK burn the ultimate and get out.
TDK are actually not done yet. They're going to keep walking forward.
OQ zones away Kirei on the right side.
There's a TP from Billy.
Yeah, he is TPing right now, trying to get over the wall. Gets caught by some slows. With the home guard gone, he can't catch up.
Both TPs used there, so no advantage gone. And now, man, 2 exposed inhibitors for Dignitas. Game 1 of the elimination match of the promotion tournament. You win this, you get into the double elimination portion, and you get second chances. There is no second chance for this match. If TDK end up getting an advantage in Game 1, Dignitas, they talked about nerves, bouncing back becomes even harder.
Yeah, already some minions getting on the inhibitor. Baron has just spawned, and Dignitas aren't taking any chances. They're already at the pit as 5, regardless of that teleport. Ace in the hole is going to find some damage against Shifter. Flares trying to chunk him down. There goes On the Hunt, used to retreat, and Dignitas are backing away from this as TDK continue to pressure forward slowly but surely. Flares, he's got a Guardian Angel right now. He is so emboldened by the rest of his team. OQ flanking from the far side, and Dignitas are chased back into their base. OQ gets chunked out, but they just can't kill him.
Oh, the damage. Almost taking out Shifter there. He has to use his heal. And Flares is going to keep diving in as they get this inhibitor, and TDK positioned for the bottom inhib as well.
Yeah, zoning away so effectively. It seems like there's nothing Dignitas can do to get in if they're using their On the Hunt defensively. Shifter runs out with the home guard, but with 2 inhibs down, it might already be too late as TDK are already out of there. And Dragon is up in 70 seconds for another 5. They're over the wall. Oh, thank goodness. Billy Boss is going to get vision. There goes another Tempered Fate as Flares again healing
can't
for the
get
rest of the
OQ.
team. He's getting so much damage. Billy Boss is going to go down to Alex. Flares finally going low. He's going to drop, but the Guardian Angel gets him right back up. Shifter is out. Kez flashes forward. There's Ace in the hole. Kirei blocks it and keeps him alive. Yeah, Apollo kiting on the side, trying to keep his team alive. The shortest magical journey ever might be the capstone to end them off. OQ's going to catch up on a rampage with that kill.
OQ just keeps impressing over and over again. He's just skirting, he's flirting with death in these fights. Shifter is almost taking him out in a combo because he doesn't have magic resist with Maw. He's full build right now, and he's just relying on the lifesteal. Playing on the head of a pin here, Kirei!
Oh, stepping on a trap. He gets locked down and dropped by Kez. Kiwi Kid lands a good stun, but the rest of his team is dead. Shifter is alive, and on the wrong side of the wall. Correction, Shifter was alive. It's 10 seconds left for Billy Boss. Here comes the minion wave. OQ's already healing up so much and looking
this'll
to
be
end this game.
TDK, off the back of a lot of great plays here from OQ and lane advantage, itemization in the way he's playing around movement speed right now.
Tempered Fate buys some time, but it's 5v2 right now. Still 15 seconds for Apollo. They're on the Nexus, and TDK are looking to win. They are going to win game number 1 against Dignitas in the promotion tournament.
And they do it in style. Off to a 1-0 start here for TDK. Over in Europe, we ended up seeing all 3 LCS teams make it back in. In NA, Team Dragon Knights right off the bat are saying, this is going to be an actual slugfest here against the 10th place Dignitas. TDK had a late season surge when they brought on Trance, Alex, and Flares, and they invigorated the other members. OQ unlocked by having Trance alongside him. And the way that OQ plays, just the little things. He is so conscious of when he's moving towards Janna, when he's moving towards Trance. OQ is walking forward and playing as if he has a Lulu, because when he walks forward with all of that movement speed, he turns around and he's at 500 movement speed when he's retreating. So he basically has Lulu Whimsy on him when he's walking away. So he's completely confident in being that far forward, and it's actually very beautiful to watch. It's the way if Freak was here, Freak would be like, that's my 80 character, that's my boy. He's enabling him. He's showing other people how Freak likes to play the game, but he's just not good enough to do so.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of envy from Freak, but
Yeah.
again, that was OQ
is super good.
playing incredibly well, and the rest of TDK being confident enough to say, you know what, our win condition, let OQ carry us. Let OQ win this game by being so fast, by being such a bully in this matchup. That takes a lot to do with a relatively new lineup, and the fact that they've been able to pull it together like this over the past 2 or 3 weeks speaks to how the team has been playing.
Yeah, they've had a little bit of extra time, of course, with the promotion tournament being pushed back, and now it just looks like a squad that even if they don't have multiple tanks for OQ, they're still able to play around him in a way and enable him. So Trance on that Janna, moving forward, you have to really think about what you're going to do about OQ and what you're going to play against him, because even though there's a Vel'Koz in this game, poke champion, long range, the Caitlyn outdamaged him.
Yeah.
So Alex ended up having to be a backline, just play kind of second fiddle to OQ in this game and not be the star. So it was most of the story for TDK as well. They all had to just kind of support him and make sure he didn't die.
Yeah, and it really is a novel solution to the Sivir problem. Every time we see Sivir, it's like, oh, how do you deal with it? Braum, just soak the AoE as best you can? Well, you could just stay out of range. And who could have imagined that it actually would work out so well? We've actually got an opportunity to take a look at how that worked out. We're going to take a look at that 36-minute dragon fight that ended up being an ace for TDK.
Yeah, this is just so good. As we roll this out, you're going to see Billy Boss goes after Flares. Trance is right there, but he'll just get disengaged. Kirei jumps forward, and then Trance zones, makes sure that he can heal Kez. Kirei gets picked up, and then Flares, after disengaging with his Chrono Shift, decides we need to go back in. Sacrifices himself, and Flares just goes hard. That's just who Flares is. OQ doesn't quite pick up Billy Boss there. And then he flashes to cancel it, get an auto attack off, and then he just turns onto Apollo. Kez is there for the follow-up, and just the communication and how quickly this team decides it's ham time is insane. Walks forward, gets him, and OQ with the finish onto Shifter.
Yeah.
It's just so beautifully played there. They're sacrificing members, but they're sacrificing them for more return. They're saying, okay, you're going to keep going flares, you're going to die, but you're going to put the team in a great position, and you're going to be able to set up more kills, which ends up being the ace there, and OQ just went off that game. And I love watching flares play as well, because you never know what he's going to do. I'm sitting there going, well, this is not the right time to go in, but he's always going in. Basically, if there's anybody on the same screen as him, he's like, get out of here, and he'll just bite them. So when he's behind, it's kind of foolish, and the rest of his team has to back him up, and we saw it this game, but it worked out. But when he's ahead, he just decimates and split pushes all game.
Yeah, which is exactly what we saw. Anyways, we're going to step away for a while the teams regroup for round number 2 between Dignitas and TDK. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Whoa,
Flares! He's getting some good AP damage in. He tries to catch back up. Flares goes low. Oh, the shield! The flash shield from Trance.
Nice,
Fight.
Makai, back. I can't move.
Into this fight. He finds Kez but can't lock him down. Alex Shifter to help him. Shifter getting one. Ace in the whole fire down again. He goes down. Ace for TDK. Kirei blocks it and keeps him alive. The Apollo kiting on the side, trying to keep his team alive. The shortest magical journey ever.